action.
Hi, this is Daniel Hubschman with Hollywood.com. I'm here in Sussex, England at the 100-Acre Wood, which is home to Winnie the Pooh and all his furry friends. I'm talking to the filmmakers today, and I want you to see what they have to say. So guys, I imagine that making a Winnie the Pooh movie means that you must have a deep affinity for the legacy and the canon. How personal are these characters to your hearts?
Well, I grew up reading the books. We had all four of the Milne books on our family's bookshelf, so I loved them as a kid. I, of course, loved the Disney classic shorts, had all kinds of story records and books of Winnie the Pooh, you know, the Disney Winnie the Pooh. So I had a really deep connection with those characters from as early as I can remember.
Yeah, and I'm sort of new to it. I had a vague memory of sort of Blustery Day and the introduction of Tigger. But I had never read the books until we started the movie, and I was sort of blown away. And absolutely convinced that this was a broad audience movie just based on the books, because there was great wit and charm and humor in those books.
Absolutely. The film is very much a reintroduction of the Winnie the Pooh family to a new generation, a new audience. But there are more than a few familiar story elements to their Eeyore's Tale, you know, for instance. So I'm kind of wondered, how do you balance the new and the old? How do you decide what goes and what stays? Basically, in throughout the course of the film.
Our mandate, right from the beginning, was to return Pooh to the roots, and that meant going back to the original Milne stories and reading the books, like I said, and from that, you know, we kind of selected about 5 stories that we felt, you know, hadn't really been explored in depth on film, and we just set about developing them, and that became sort of the spine of the film. Some stories left the spine of the film because, you know, some stories took over as the main story beats and stuff, and some were discarded. But it all started with Milne, and you know, we kind of started we were very reverent toward Winnie the Pooh, just the Milne stories and also the Disney featurettes. And throughout the course of the movie, you know, it just kind of organically became our own. We started infusing it with some of our own sensibilities as well.
I absolutely love the live action bookends at the top and back, and also I don't know if this had been done before. I didn't get to do all the Pooh research that I wanted to do, but walking through the actual novels and the books, I felt that was the freshest creative approach that it had there. So can you explain a little bit about what went on there?
Yeah, they did that a lot to great effect in the original Honey Tree and Blustery Day, and Tigger too. And so when we started going around telling people at the studio that we were going to start working on Winnie the Pooh, that was the first thing they said.
Really?
You've got to have them play with the letters and the text and stuff like that, because it was just, in their minds, it was so entertaining and such a staple of Winnie the Pooh that they felt like, oh, you have to have that. And they kept saying, you got to put more in. Yeah, but it was we knew we had to have that in the movie.
Now the balance of and I'm not sure exactly how much, so that's what I'm kind of inquiring about, the balance between CG and traditional animation. In most traditionally animated films, and including the ones that you guys have worked on, it's a combination of both. What was the balance? I mean, I would say just from a consumer standpoint, maybe 70-30. I mean, what was it really like in the end?
Well, most of the digital work that we did was in the back end of things, in the background paintings. They were all painted digitally, and then the compositing. Obviously we don't do cells and shoot them on a camera stand anymore. So the characters are painted. The backgrounds are digital, so they're brought together and then composited in the computer. But prior to that, in the process, everything else is still the traditional way: paper, pencil, that great handmade feel of traditional animation. It's still done the same way, but we love the idea of how can we get that handmade feel of classic traditional animation in this digital world with this digital technology, and we feel really confident about what our artists were able to do.
It looks great. It looks great.